Welcome everyone to the Explorer Weekly television show. Today's episode is dedicated entirely to the well-known geographer, explorer, and naturalist Alexander von Humboldt. Charles Darwin described him as the greatest scientific traveler who ever lived. He is widely respected as one of the founders of modern geography. Alexander von Humboldt's travels, experiments, and knowledge essentially transformed Western science in the 19th century. Just recently, several of his personal journal entries were published. In these extracts, von Humboldt described the geographical and naturalistic discoveries he had observed on his journey. Today, we will join von Humboldt on his journey and experience it as if we had seen it all with our own eyes.
It was in the summer of 1799 when I left Marseille by ship, accompanied by my newest friend, Aimé Bonpland, a French botanist, whom I met in France. We started off our mission at Carip, and we explored the Gaucharo cavern. We observed so many interesting creatures there. One caught my eye in particular, the Steatornis caripensis, also known as the oil bird. From there we returned to Camana, where I observed an astonishing meteor shower called the Alonidis. We continued to Caracas, and from there we traveled south to the grasslands and shrublands until we reached the edges of the Apure, which is the side stream of the Orinoco River. We were satisfied to have made our first discovery so early in on the journey. While following the course of the Casicara, we proved that the Casicara River formed a connection between the vast river systems of the Amazon and the Orinoco River. We also determined the exact position of the bifurcation, which is the location in which it divides into two branches. We were excited to meet a native tribe along these rivers. They were called the Maipures. And we also got to meet their rivals, the Atures. However, following that, the past 3 months have been horrendous. We traveled through condensed tropical forest, and the environment surrounding us hasn't exactly been helpful either. We were drowned by countless mosquitoes. They are everywhere. Anyway, we decided to suck it up and stay motivated.
Bonpland and I returned to South America once again for an extensive and substantial exploration of the Andes. We traveled from Bogota to Trujillo, which is located in Peru, where we explored the Andean highlands. This was quite a struggle, since the paths were completely steep, rocky, and narrow. This was a major challenge, however it was all worth it once we climbed some of the peaks there, discovering the volcanoes surrounding Quito in Ecuador. The most amazing part was that we made a world record. We ascended Chimborazo to the height of 19,286 feet, having the actual peak of the mountain stand at 20,702 feet. Nevertheless, there were some struggles and obstacles we had to face. These included altitude sickness, which was caused due to the acute exposure to the low partial pressure of oxygen at the altitude we were in. Once I come back to civilization, I will tell the world about my discovery of the relationship between the sickness and the lack of oxygen. Bonpland tells me I am the first to ascribe such a relationship. Other than these great discoveries and honors, I also studied the oceanic current off the west coast of South America. At Callao, I observed the transit of Mercury, which basically meant that I got to observe the planet Mercury coming in between the Sun and the Earth, having Mercury seen as a small black dot moving across the Sun.
I am currently sailing from the United States to Europe to continue my explorations, and I have just decided that it is only appropriate and correct to record all of my achievements during the Latin American expedition. One of the main subjects I find particularly significant concern the isothermal lines. I highly suggested to compare the climatic conditions in numerous countries. I investigated the rate of decrease in the average temperature with the increase in rise above sea level. This led to my next discovery, which, using the information I have gathered of the origin and base of tropical storms, I managed to detect that there is quite a complex law governing atmospheric disturbances in the higher latitudes. I have also found that there is a significant decrease in the intensity of Earth's magnetic field in the location ranging from the poles to the equator. I also had the opportunity to carefully study the volcanoes of the Americas, of which I demonstrated how they naturally divided into linear groups, assumingly due to correspondence with vast subterranean fissures. I also discovered the ingenious origin of rocks, which up to now was believed to be of aqueous formation. I also eliminated several other unsound theories and views, such as nepotism.
I found it necessary to investigate a real phenomenon that had awakened my interest from the first moment I had found out about it in South America. This phenomenon was none other than the sudden fluctuations of the Earth's geomagnetic field, which are also called magnetic storms. I started to observe the movement of the magnetometer from the location of a calm and peaceful cabin in a garden in Berlin. However, as convenient as this location was, I knew that in order to discover the origin of these magnetic storms, meaning whether they are of terrestrial or extraterrestrial origin, I would have to set up a worldwide net of magnetic observatories. And soon enough, observations were set up in Canada, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Eventually, together with the great English geophysicist Sir Edward Sabine, we correlated the appearance of magnetic storms in the atmosphere to the sporadically changing sunspots activities, which thus resulted in our conclusion that the origin of these magnetic storms were actually extraterrestrial.
So, this concludes today's episode of The Explorer, which was entirely dedicated to the great scientist Alexander von Humboldt. These diary extracts really allow us to experience the different discoveries Humboldt had made firsthand, and along with the images projected, it feels as if we are really there. Humboldt's discoveries will remain significant and vital knowledge forever, and these journal entries are essential in knowing the exact ecosystems and environments he had observed during his lifetime. Thanks for watching, and join us next week when we will once again start exploring.